This is Noah John from No Rest Tuesdays at 7 p.m. on the No Rest Radio Network. We have dogs in the studio, right?
Well, we do. Right now we do. Welcome to the show. You're on No Rest. You're with DJ EsTeh and Noah John himself. How are you tonight, Noah?
All right, good. Had a nice ride over here.
Yeah?
A little cold outside, relatively, but very nice breeze, a little sunset. Very peaceful.
Yeah, how's your week been?
It's a long week. I didn't really do much, but just felt like a long one. I don't know. Stuck around. I don't think I did anything.
No? I can't even remember what I did. Besides having some Tinder dates.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I hadn't actually met anyone before, but that turned out to be an interesting afternoon.
Good. Oh, afternoon.
Wow. That was short afternoon. It's an hour. It was a cup of coffee.
What's good, bad, forgettable, memorable?
An experience, you could say.
Are you going to do date number 2?
I think that's... well, she's actually going back to somewhere in Java in 2 days, so I'm not sure what do you do? You know?
I guess that's a no?
It's a pretty quick...
Tomorrow, maybe.
Pretty quick relationship, if anything. Yeah, I don't know. And I was also down at Ryoshi last night. Rio City was bashing out his music, his jazz, trumpet, and so forth. The full band.
Well, that's a sushi restaurant, right?
You've never been to the jazz they have there on Monday night?
No, I've been to the restaurant, but not on Mondays. I don't like jazz. I'm not a fan of jazz.
Yeah.
I like smooth jazz, like elevator music. Yeah. I think I said that before once.
Well, jazz is multifaceted, like many parts of music. And tonight I'm going to be playing a few tracks from this Alex G, whose real name is Alexander Gianscoli. You ever heard of him?
No.
He's like an indie
Is that like
rock.
Ali G?
No, it's a completely different. And he changed his name actually to Sandy Alex G because there's apparently another Alex G on YouTube somewhere. But he started off as a like a bedroom jammer, and has become quite famous in indie circles. But I'll play some of his music later on tonight. What else are we going to be talking about?
Well, I'll get to it. But there was that one jazz club that I've been to a couple of times. It's like upstairs, and they serve like chocolate martinis. Is that what you're talking about?
It is upstairs,
and it's like they have like a very.
Well, it's Ryoshi.
I must have changed. This was like I was there like 3 years ago, and it's like inside. It's like looks just like a jazz club you see in the movies, like Velvet.
Oh, yeah, that's another one.
And there was like incredible like espresso martini and stuff like that. Like really, really nice. But again,
in front of W Hotel, more or less.
Yeah, what is that? Right? Semi-New
York, Petty
Yeah,
but anyway, Ryoshi's it's a bit of an institution. It's been going on about 10 years, just with Rio City and his band. And it's always very busy with Russians and, probably the
always busy with Russians.
Older crowd. But even on the busy, normal times, not the corona times, it's full of Russians. Russians appear to like jazz.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I don't know how that is, but they do. Anyway.
I was listening to one of your other shows with that lady. I forgot her name. What's her name?
Miss M.
So you guys talk about, like, music, but I don't know what the name of the genre is, because she mentioned EDM, which I thought was the kind of music that you like, and then you were like, I don't like that at all.
Right.
But you do like electronic music. Like, I'm trying to understand. As someone like me who's ignorant about this, I'm sure there's a huge nuance difference, but I can't tell the difference.
Well, EDM was an abbreviation or whatever.
Electronic dance music,
of
right?
Electronic dance music, but it got taken over in the last 5-10 years. And became a lot more commercial end of electronic music, and they just called it EDM, and that came from the States actually. And so all this stuff with David Guetta and banging stuff became EDM. Stuff you heard at Sky Garden, for example.
So you don't like the mainstream, or you don't like the music itself?
I don't like the music's horrible.
Okay,
it sounds like you're in a pinball alley or something. Ding 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 ding. It's just put your hands in the air every 5 minutes and not much sexy to it, if you could say. I like the house music and the real electronic dance music is sexy. It's warm and it's sexy. That music is like just commercial.
Like Skrillex, is he part of that?
Basically, drinking. Yeah, Skrillex is a classic.
That and then Darude, right? Sandstorm. That was like 2002.
Yeah,
like the last EDM song.
All the last famous people all seem to be EDM.
They wear like masks and stuff. Not like Corona masks, like Halloween masks.
What's that guy? Yeah. That's right. There's a few of them. The mouse, right? Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyway, that's.
Is there going to be Halloween this year? Do you celebrate Halloween in UK or Australia? I don't even know.
Not really. No, a little bit. I think the UK does a fair bit, but that's still a few months away, right?
Yeah.
We might be corona free by then.
Oh yeah, right.
You know, or we might be without the fear from corona. Actually, I saw on the news Moderna is very close. They've started their third series of tests.
Who's this?
Moderna in the US. They're a pharmaceutical company. They've been the ones at the front in the US anyway. Moderna.
Actually, I was going to say something. My friend Dave, one of my best friends since I was like literally 6 years old, he was sending me some story. It's actually it's a big story today. He sent me a video. I was supposed to watch it, and a lot of people on the internet are criticizing it. It's basically like these doctors that are basically saying, "Hey, we have like this treatment." Yeah. No. So my friend Dave, he said, "You know who would have an open mind about this? DJ EsTeh." So you do have a fan, and I was like, yeah, he probably would. And if I had time, I promised him I would watch it. I haven't yet, but I will.
Somebody sent it to me.
Yeah, it blew up in the last 24 hours. Yeah. And it's like 45 minutes long.
And I was going to send it to my group, and I did send it, but I deleted it because I like to make sure I've checked the sources.
Very smart idea. I call that a pusher. When we just see the title, and we just push it.
Oh no, I watched half of it.
Okay,
and it sounded, fair. They're talking about the hydroxychloroquine, is that what it's called?
Right.
Other things about children, countering what the official line is, and I don't know. That's what I wasn't sure about because I'm not sure exactly what doctors they are.
Well, it seems to me that there are studies that say that hydroxychloroquine does have certain positive effects, but
also preventative apparently.
Well, that's the thing is like. I haven't seen that, but the thing is like, hey, if it's just treatment, then of course you want to continue with the vaccine. But anyway, my friend, I don't really know enough about it to speak about it, but my friend was like, DJ EsTeh would have an open mind about that. So you got a fan.
Over there?
He lives in California.
Oh, good on you. What's his name?
Dave.
Hey, Dave. Here's a shout out.
He's slowly going through our episodes. He's on like episode 3. He's a very busy man.
Oh, good for him. I've had conversations on Facebook just recently too, because the whole thing seems to have blown up again, right? The cases everywhere.
I mean, pretty obvious it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm so glad I'm not on Facebook right now, man. I feel so blessed that I can't log into my Facebook because I can't get my password because it's in my American phone, which is not running here. I have like a smartphone, flip phone, and man, I'm just like I'm missing the coronavirus. I'm missing politics. I'm missing Black Lives Matter, which I support, but I don't want to get into the debate with other people who don't support it. And I'm just like, what a relief and how much time I've saved in my life not worrying about that. But I spend double the time on Twitter. So.
I was going to say that.
Twitter's way better.
I think you're the most active person I know on Twitter.
Well, there's just so much learning and so much information, not even social, just to learn and to get different perspectives on stories from across the world. I love it. Facebook's more like friends who are not necessarily contributing like groundbreaking new learning, but I love it. And some people on there are very, very funny.
Yes, and we've talked about that before, and I think you consume a lot of time just trying to come up with those one-liners, right?
Yeah.
Getting them right, them,
I don't, but people do.
Editing them.
There's no edit. There's no edit. No. Twitter said if everybody wears a mask, they'll give us an edit button. So.
Oh, bless them. I couldn't believe, actually, the guy in the Premier of Victoria the other day, because he had such a gleam in his eye when he could announce that a 40-year-old died. Because over the last 2 weeks since all these lockdowns and everything, it's been people like 100 years old, 90 years old. Oh, 2 men in their 80s. And the other day somebody died in the 40s, and you could see him go, yeah, I told you so. It's going to get you, all of you.
Right. Who's that?
Dan. Premier Dan.
Premier Dan.
Premier Dan. Dan something. I
love him. We'll get to...
I'm not from Victoria. Anyway.
We'll get to past Australian politicians at some point in this show. It's one of our stories we're going to talk about tonight.
Wait a second. We're going to try and find Belvedere here too. All right. So what's going on?
Should we start with something or music or what?
Actually, let's start with this, Alex G. Because I lined up a few tracks, and just because it's just this morning I read about him in Pitchfork, and he's been around since about 2014. Maybe there's a lot of listeners out there that already know, but I was kind of knocked back. It was a bit, it's a bit scary. It's indie stuff, but it's not heavy or anything. But it's a little bit like what's his name? Brian Jonestown Massacre. Meets Bob Dylan, meets electronic music, meets kind of wacky out there sounds, and somehow he pulls it together.
So he's in Bali?
No, he's American. He's from Philadelphia.
Oh.
Yeah, he's an American musician based in Philadelphia. He started his career with DIY, do-it-yourself, self-releases on Bandcamp, and began building up an audience with his label Debut, DSU, in 2014. And he's released a couple of albums.
Philly has a big music history as a city. A lot of good live venues.
Yeah, I haven't been there, but I'm sure you have.
No, you're not missing anything.
Yeah, so Pitchfork were talking highly of him, so I started listening to his music this morning. I thought, damn, I'm going to play that on the show tonight.
Damn.
We're going to do something with this. Let's see if we can find it. Bear with us, folks. Bear with us. What's been happening in Bali this week? Didn't we have a few things going on?
I can get into our story, but we'll talk about it not in this show, but another show. But you sent me a story about a plane crash in Bali, like in Pan Am in 1974. Man,
was it 74?
I believe
60s.
I think it was 74. I might be confusing that with Harold Holt, which we're going to get to. But man, we'll I'm not quite ready to talk about it yet. My research isn't finished, but really wild story. Really wild. Crashed right into a volcano, right into a mountain in West Bali, and where another one of our stories tonight's going to come from. And wow, just really wow. I don't recall that. Pan Am, my family has some history in aviation work, careers in aviation, both my uncles. And Pan Am is always like one of those romantic airlines, along with TWA, that you talk about, days gone by. And
Pan Am was one of the big ones.
That was the big one, man. And they had they didn't have a lot, but they had some famous problems as far as the Lockerbie explosion, which, depending on what you believe, either Libya or Iran was involved. Okay. But this Bali one, we'll get to it maybe next week. Really wild. That was crazy. Wow. But this week I didn't really do much, man. I just kind of chilled.
I think I went down to Shishi again, and apparently Shishi got called out the other day by Coconuts Bali, which is a local
I follow
press
them.
rag, about not wearing masks or something inside, because the place is getting packed. Every place in town is packed. Like Ryoshi last night. Yeah. Busy, people dancing. Right. It's just like normal.
It's hard to wear a mask in a restaurant.
Yeah.
If you're eating or you're drinking.
Oh, this is watching a band. This is a live venue. So it's hard to... I find it myself. I keep on saying to people, I'm going to wear a mask, I'm going to wear a mask. As soon as you walk into a place, off with the mask.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to get a drink or a food. I met a guy today. He's going to make me some custom masks. I got some custom designs. Yeah. The guy was very interesting guy.
Some funny ones.
I don't like funny. I don't like funny. I like weird and depressing.
I bet you.
But I got a couple designs. But the guy was very interesting guy. Yeah. Whatever. All right, are we going to music, or should I start with one of these stories?
We'll do it right now. This is a song from Alex G. His latest album, House of Sugar, and it's actually the first song on the album, and the first song I heard from him. So get a load of this into you as soon as we get rid of that one. We'll bang him up.
Rid of that and put that.
And then we're on Walk Away, which is on House of Sugar. Well, that was Alex G, all the way from Philadelphia, Alexander Gianscoli.
I wonder if he's an Eagles fan and he threw batteries at Santa Claus because they did that.
Really?
That's what everyone says about Philadelphia. Their sports fans are evil.
Oh.
Except my friend Ted and Andrea, they're cool, but everyone else is just... They had Santa Claus come to a halftime at a National Football League game, and they threw batteries at him. Yeah.
They don't like Santa Claus?
They don't like people.
Cuss, you know?
And then they won a Super Bowl. But they did beat the Patriots, so I guess that was cool.
So Why is Philadelphia in particular like an?
I don't know. They're just like weirdos. They're just like when they won the Super Bowl, some dude punched a police horse, like punched a police horse in the face. Like they're just angry. I don't know.
Is that where the convicts were kept or something?
Yeah, their old stadium, which is no longer in existence. There was literally a jail cell in the bottom of the stadium because there were so many people getting arrested at the football games, which. That's a thing at sports events, at least in America. Just the drunken violence and the language. Like you can't. I haven't been to a professional game in a long time because there's just like it's just
and thousands,
dangerous place.
Thousands of them just going
50,000 people.
But it's good in a way that it's all kept in one little zone.
Yeah, that's true. I guess
until the game finishes and then they're out in the streets. Anyway, so where are we going?
And then everyone drives drunk home.
We're still waiting for Belvedere to turn up.
So I wanted to get his opinion. I'll let you pick. Okay, we got the Bali tiger, which is an animal. We've got Harold Holt, the former
we'll wait for him.
Prime Minister.
He's from Sydney. So.
Yeah. Okay. Right. We've got a very interesting story from the very tiny African country of Lesotho. Wild current events that are going on there, and then we also have the top ranked by Rolling Stone top. Music, memoirs, or biographies of all time.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We love our rock and roll.
But maybe we can let him comment on the music too. Maybe
let's go for the Bali one, the
Bali tiger. Okay. So Bali is an island, obviously, of about 4 million people now. Relatively small. I don't really know what the size is. 2,000 square miles, something like that. Not big. And there used to be an animal, the Bali tiger. It was native to Bali. It's unfortunately extinct. And the last official sighting of one was in 1937. And the tiger was indigenous to Bali. It was probably related to the Java tiger, which is another unfortunately extinct animal on the island of Java. And as you know, as usual, it went extinct to the traditional reasons: hunting, poaching, increased human activity, encroachment up on their land. But another part of it, which is significant here, was just kind of the superstition. It was considered like dangerous or like evil, and so people would kill it just because, either for its skin and its fur and stuff like that, and also like maybe to like make like magical potions like with their whiskers to like ward off evil spirits. But obviously, being on an island, the amount and places that this animal could go when humans were encroaching were limited. They weren't going to jump in the ocean. So they unfortunately went extinct in 1937. But it's a very interesting story. There are tigers in Bali now in the zoos. Have you ever seen them? Up in the zoo there?
Is there?
Yeah, I fed it. I spent like $5 to give it a big chicken.
They're like big dogs and they painted them.
No, they're like legit. Really? Gigantic tigers, and then you can spend like $5 and they give you like a chicken, and you put the chicken on like this like wire thing.
But they're not Bali.
No,
they're from Sumatra. Or something.
Yeah. But they're I mean, you know, yeah, of course they're in a captivity.
Yeah. Pretty horrible zoo too, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I go both ways on zoos. I think it's a good way for people to see animals up close, but of course, obviously, the treatment is generally terrible. I've taken young people to zoos in Bali, and they kind of they have both opinions about it. But one of the things about tigers is these days, like, you can fetch a lot of money for some of their stuff. I mean, like, the bones go for like $600 a pound. The meat, which I wouldn't recommend eating tiger meat, but $40 a pound. Blood, $80 a barrel. The head, $600, and the penis, $2,400
per inch.
I don't think per inch. I think total. But so this tiger was a little bit smaller than general tigers. It was about 7 feet, 2.1 meters long, about 200 pounds, 90 kilograms, and that's good for the island, trying to live on an island, because it's relatively smaller, but it's still way too big to be able to live and hide and things like that. So tigers generally need, according to my research, about 15 to 50 kilometers, 10 to 30 square miles for their territory. They're basically solitary animals. So it was not conducive to surviving on an island. They only have 2 to 3 cubs per lifetime. But in the theory, which we talked about last time, was the rising and sinking sea levels. They had basically walked over from Java, and then when the sea levels rose, they were kind of trapped. But there's some naturalists and scientists that think, like, because Java's only at its shortest point, 2 miles from Bali. So there could have been some that swam over from Java, but as time went on,
or on boats or something. You know.
They could have been on boats, but as
people
time
bringing them over as pets, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't see that in the research. I think they brought them over dead or back. I mean, the Dutch would come over from Java and go on these hunting expeditions, led by the locals who knew where things were. Yeah. Trophy hunting.
And I can imagine people sort of keeping in the backyard, right?
This time, what I saw was just sport. I mean, I got pictures here of dead Bali tigers, and it's just like, yeah, it's just a bunch of rich white Dutch people with some local people that they paid, and there's just these lined up of these dead animals. There was a sighting in 1970 and another one in 72, but it was not confirmed. But they were reports. I mean, they're definitely gone now.
It's a bit like the Tasmanian tiger, isn't it? Is that?
I don't know. You tell me.
Similar case. It used to be roaming around Tasmania in the south of Australia. There's an island off the south of Australia.
I want to go there.
Southeast Australia, and I think it was around the same time. To 30s.
Yeah, the last one was, like I said, was, what did I say, 37? 37. And then when some villagers said they saw one in 70 and 72, search parties were organized to look. No tigers were found, but they did find mauled and killed animals that were killed by, a large carnivorous animal, as well as claw marks. So it was probably were existing in the 50s and 60s, but we've never seen an actual one, dead or alive, since 1937. But if you do want to see remnants of the Bali tiger, it is still available in some museums across the world. The British Museum has 2 skins and 3 skulls. There are 2 museums in Germany, 1 in the Netherlands, and the Zoological Museum in Bogor, West Java has 1. And Hungary, a museum in Hungary, just recently discovered that they had one in their collection. So the Bali tiger was real. It's no longer available now, and there are not many tigers left. I don't have the exact number. It's probably less than like 60,000. And Indonesia is one of the places where they're existing. They're not all over the world anymore. Within 50 years, they're going to be
a big
gone.
Animal? Was it like this as big as?
This one was smaller, like 7 feet long. But this is smaller than the general tiger.
7 feet long.
Yeah, what's that?
How big's the
2.1
normal one?
Longer than that. 2.1 meters. But
that's body
from head to tail. But
that's big, right? That's as big as.
I mean, that's big for us, but for a tiger, like a full-grown tiger, no. But I did mention the British Museum. I do have have you ever been there? In London? They have like the obelisks from Egypt and stuff, and it's an incredible museum. But I was there once I watched the Super Bowl there. So it was January 2017.
Super Bowl.
But I was there the next day with two colleagues, because we had gone my previous job to a conference, and we're walking in the British Museum in the lobby, and all of a sudden, if you walk in, there's like a couple like exhibit rooms off to the left and right before you walk into the main museum, and all of a sudden, I just hear huge, loud screaming in Arabic, like, yeah, going that way.
God is great.
And I went into this mode where my body was no longer controlled by myself. I pushed the 2 people I was with, one guy and one girl. My friend Ryan was there. And I said, run. And me and like 30 or 40 people just ran out. I'm talking, I took the steps 4 at a time, jumped off the last 4 or 5 steps, ran to this big metal black gate that separates it from this street, and we just ran. And we looked back, and there was nothing that happened, but there was a bunch of people around. There was one American dude. I'm like, dude, what the hell was that? He's like, I heard it too. And then we were on Twitter, we were on social media trying to find things and like trying to contact like local news organizations. I don't even know whatever happened to it. I never read about it, but some guy screamed bloody murder at the top of his lungs in Arabic. And I'm telling you, every single person in that lobby ran. It was the scariest thing that's ever happened to me. Nothing happened, fortunately, but I can only imagine what would happen if it was really like that. It was terrifying, but it's like, feet don't fail me now.
Is it a tiger? Or is it a terrorist attack?
Yeah, it was nothing, fortunately, but it was no joke. But you can go to the British Museum and you can see 2 skins and 3 skulls of the unfortunately no longer alive Bali tiger.
What do you know about the Bali tiger, Mr. Belvedere?
Good evening, guys. And yeah, I'm sorry I'm a little bit late.
All good.
I know absolutely nothing. All I know is that there's a lot of species of dogs in Bali who
look like tigers.
Yeah. I mean, which I assume are descendants of dogs brought over by the Dutch. But I mean, if
they look
murder, it would be on a 7-foot dog chasing you.
Yeah, but the Bali dog looks a lot like a dingo to me.
Yeah,
many times.
Very true.
The Australian
native
dog.
The last seen Bali tiger was killed on September 27th, 1937, and it was a female, and it was part of a hunting expedition from Java. So hope they enjoyed it, because they stole a beautiful animal that was very distinct and unique to this place. I mean, of course, this is in West Bali, by the way, where the West Bali National Park is right now, over near Medewi. That's where their primary habitat was. But
great spot.
Yeah, cool, interesting.
Well,
spot.
it's like the Javanese coming across to Bali too itself, isn't it?
Yeah, they say that it's possible that the tiger came over just by swimming that 2 miles between Gilimanuk and Java. But I wanted to shout that out because no one really knows about it, and it's no longer alive, obviously. But it was just one of those unique to Bali things.
But then we were talking about the Wallace Line last week, and then these islands were probably a lot closer, shallower stretches of water in between.
Bali and Java were connected by land, like we talked about, like between 2 million and
many years ago.
Yeah, 10,000 years ago.
We're going to go on to Harold Holt, or are we going to go on to some music? I've got some more.
Play a song, and then we'll talk about Harold Holt.
Fascinating Alex G.
Yeah,
right.
Great disappearing.
So we're just going to play one.
Oh yeah, get ready.
We're going to play one of his first tracks from 2014, I believe.
Harold's?
Yes. So
from my research, he seems like a nice guy. He could have made music.
So here we are. What are we talking about? We're talking about those dudes getting released this past week. There was 2 of them. One of them got released in April, I believe it was, and the other one,
David Van Borsel.
Yeah, that was this week, right? So he was
now William Cabanton was just released.
Oh, is that the way it looks?
Like on Sunday. Who both of them I met very briefly back, a couple of years ago.
And that was in Bali. Where?
That was in Bali. That was in the whole beginning and pre-opening of the nightclub, if I could mention their name.
Go ahead.
Lost City.
Lost City. It's a very lost city now, I'm sure.
So they were released from where?
Released from
at a lovely hotel just around the corner in Karobakan.
Yeah.
A jail. And they were there for I think you need to give a little bit of background. So what were they there for? Okay,
so they were they were sprung in allegedly the office of the nightclub with 1.2 grams of the alleged substance.
Yeah.
Cocaine.
Which wasn't a big deal.
Yeah, as far as busts of the year, I would probably say it ranked very low.
Yeah, for sure. But for some reason, I heard another story where the cops were already onto them for a while, and they weren't prepared to pay, and they end up getting inside. It's one of these fix-up jobs.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stories swirling around that one. Probably, you say, but
that's all you say, I guess.
How long were they in?
I think. Well, I'd say just over 2 years.
No. It was only last year.
Would that be right?
It was only last year. Last July, I believe, it was, they were actually picked up. And put in jail eventually.
All right, yeah, because I guess I've been here a year and a bit, but I think it was probably the bit before then. Okay, so I'm probably a bit long on that, 2 years.
All right. Well, maybe I need to check that, but I'm pretty sure it was last year.
regardless, 1 year in there would be not such a fun thing.
No, and do nothing for your career.
No,
oh, wow.
Exactly. Unless you wouldn't put that on the CV, but regardless, I did meet them both, and they were, fine, kind of nice guys, and it's a shame, but
that's true.
It's written in the law, so be careful.
He's wearing a shirt on the day he was released that's in the image of the Obama Hope shirt. And I believe it's one of the guys that was killed from the Bali 9. He's wearing a shirt of one of those guys.
Oh, really?
So he's making a statement. It's pretty risky. I would probably just get on my merry way if they were going to let me out of jail. But he's clearly... And his face mask says, speak less, listen more. Whatever.
What's that all, man?
Yeah.
It's just annoying.
I think you're taking advice for any of those guys. But
Right.
I think you're right, Noah. You should just, go outside with the balaclava over your head and never be seen again.
It says here,
yeah.
he allegedly tried to kill him.
The earliest flight. Jetstar's fine, thanks.
Yeah, thanks. He went to Melbourne. He allegedly tried to kill himself in jail, but the warden rejected that claim, said he spent his time meditating, exercising, and going to church. Others said, however, he was arrogant, antagonistic to other inmates, and rejected prison projects, which that shirt would kind of lend it to.
Yeah.
Maybe that's true. So, yeah.
So
he's an
an asshole. Is he an asshole?
No, I don't know that. No,
I don't know. We didn't say that.
But he's an
Are you guys
Australian.
going to the tie-dyeing competition today? Probably not.
Is he an Australian citizen?
Apparently.
He would be.
Yeah.
Half dual?
Half.
Because he looks Indonesian.
He looks something.
He said he apologized for his offense. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway.
I mean, it's every week these idiots get arrested.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, you got to be out of your mind.
There's still, what's the other guy from Red Ruby? He's still inside.
Sure, no, he would be.
What's that? I went to that club once.
Yeah.
What's that? What happened?
I was there last
What happened? Who's in jail?
Friday night. There was an American guy, actually. I'm not exactly sure which part of America, but he got caught about a year ago with the Charlie thing.
Ian.
Yeah.
I don't know him.
No, so I'm not even sure what he ended up being sentenced.
Probably a long time.
Yeah. You never know. It depends, in this country, it depends on, the machinations of the trial, really.
When was this? Last year?
Last year.
That sucks. He didn't get to watch the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
He must have been very disappointed.
Well, he probably did.
Oh, yeah, I did see the documentary.
Hotel K is not exactly...
No, they have their own rooms, and it's weird.
Yeah, it's not exactly the place where you're intensely in jail. Yeah.
Why do you think he got out after a year? Because the amount was relatively small?
But anyway.
Yeah.
He's home. He's free.
Yeah. It'll be a nice book one day, which probably very few will buy.
Very few people will buy, you said?
Well,
I wouldn't. I wouldn't buy it. Who cares?
Yeah, I would. Maybe we'll have him on the show one day. Who knows?
Maybe.
Oh, those
Did you hear what DJ ST said about you? Did you hear what DJ ST said about you when you got out?
What?
Yeah, one day you'll be on the show.
Come clean. What do you think?
You're too quick, no, you know that. Where are we?
All right, where are we? Earth.
Harold Holmes.
Anyway,
Okay.
it's all. No, I'll just say one thing. It's all crazy because everyone's just basically having a good time, right? Let's face it. Everyone's just having a good time.
Someone said to me once, "There's nothing wrong with someone having a good time."
I know who said that.
I wonder who said
That's on someone's Twitter. Actually,
it's probably
It's
one
everywhere,
of the best
actually.
mentions I've ever heard. Ever since
That's
being
right.
in
That's
Indonesia.
all there is to it.
it's on your Twitter, actually.
Yeah,
You won't read that on a T-shirt.
Well, you might. Actually, at one point you're going to read it on the wall of the Beat Cafe, but it never actually happened.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe the next project.
I've always lived by that slogan, but anyway.
All right, should we move on to Harold Holt? So I've got two
Yes.
Australians with me, so I would really hope that you can be able to fill in some of the color on this story that I'm probably missing. I'm sure if you're Australian or from this part of the world, you're very familiar with this case, but if you're not, it's a very fascinating story, and I think that's definitely what we're talking about. So Harold Holt was the 17th Prime Minister of Australia. He served from 1966 to 1967. He was born in 1908. He was a Prime Minister from the Liberal Party, which I don't know what that means. In every country, the Liberal can be conservative. In America, it means like center-left. So, and the other party was Labor. Like in my vernacular of politics, Labor and Liberal are the same thing. So, sounds to me like he was a center-left Democrat in the mold of Kennedy or Lyndon Johnson.
Liberal?
That's what I'm guessing. Yeah, he was Liberal Party.
They're right side of politics in Australia,
but not too right. Not too right.
No, nothing's too right. Nothing's too right. Well, left is a little bit more, unionist kind of side of things, but the Australian Liberal Party basically got its name because on their ticket they can actually vote for themselves, whereas the other Labor Party, they have to go on party lines. So Liberals were set up to be able to vote for themselves in sort of.
So who do you vote for?
Independent.
Or who would you have voted for?
I've become very right wing in my older age. I'd hate to say
that sucks.
Anyway, only because I pay tax and everything else. I'm the one paying the tax, not the one grabbing the money.
You right wing? That's a good one.
No, I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not. I'm more right leaning than left. Put it that way. So
I'm like socialist left. Just to be clear,
I prefer there's less government.
I knew that about you.
Thank you.
Less government is better. That's all I know.
Right. Anyway. Except for the fact that that's just a myth. That the right wing says that, but they actually expand government more than anybody else. Anyway, okay.
Let me point out now. That's one of the reasons I enjoy living in Indonesia, or used to enjoy living in Indonesia. There was very little influence from the government. But go on.
So he studied.
Tell us about that fateful day on December 17th.
There you go. Okay, cool. So just a little bit more background about the guy, because he was really like a pretty cool dude. He studied law at the University of Melbourne. He served in the Australian Army. He ended up going back to the government after serving in the Army after the 1940 Canberra air disaster, which I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but on August 13th, 1940, during World War II, 10 people were killed in a small plane crash. 3 members of the Australian cabinet and the chief of the general staff, which I'm guessing is the chief, like the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the military, and 4 crew. So after that, they basically asked him to come back and kind of work in the government because they really needed like experienced people. And when he was elected in '66, he won a huge victory. He was unopposed for the Liberal nomination. He beat a gentleman called Arthur Calwell. The Liberals won 82 seats in I guess, your parliament. Labour only won 41, so ass-kicking.
Liberals, man. Liberals.
Ass-kicking.
Liberals caned it in Australia for
82 to 41.
30 years before with this Menzies. He was in power for like 20-something years, right?
The Libs had 57% and Labour had 43%. So Holt was an ally of the United States. He ended up kind of screwing himself when he said, with LBJ all the way, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was American president after Kennedy, who kind of ramped up the Vietnam War, did some good things, passed the Civil Rights Act in 1965, but really kind of destroyed his legacy with the Vietnam War. And when Holt said that, it was very poorly received, and it kind of not ruined his reputation, but he never kind of threw off that yoke after saying that.
He wasn't on Twitter in those days, was he?
He was not.
About Lyndon Johnson.
He said, "I support LBJ all the way," and to support the Vietnam War was just not a good political position.
This is 1966.
This is 1966.
Well, probably 65. When it was still 6. Well, after he was elected, before, but
after.
Okay, so, but at that point, the Vietnam War wasn't stinking as much as it was.
No, but the reason for the Vietnam War was total disaster. I mean, to invade a country that wasn't really that important, to stop communism, which didn't even win.
You got to put
Vietnam is communist today.
You got to put yourself in that position back in those years.
Listen, you can't defend the Vietnam War. I'm just
going to point out the reasons why they did it.
Agreed.
I just point out the reasons why they did it because Korea's just fallen down. China's Korea before it,
right?
In the 50s.
That
was a total mess. It still is.
South Korea's a mess.
No, well,
pretty well-run country, I think.
South Korea's still fine.
North Korea just got their first case of coronavirus this week.
I saw that, but they weren't too sure about it. Anyway, so next you got down here, you got Sukarno and he's left leaning, right? Which they got rid of him as well.
There's a great new book called
1965.
That was 1965. There's a great book called The Jakarta Method by Vincent Bevins, which is getting incredible reviews right now. I highly recommend reading it about that.
I've heard
blowing up. This book is blowing up.
Podcast on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe you sent it to me.
I did. Incredible.
But at that point, the world was not, as wise as it is today.
Is the world wise?
It should be a little bit wiser.
We can't even...
At that point, you got China sitting up there.
We've screwed up this corona thing worse than you could ever make up in a fake simulation.
Anyway.
I wouldn't call the world wise.
China, you got China, the yellow peril. And it's coming down. That's their argument.
I think that's a racist comment.
That's their argument. Yeah, well,
I'm not touching that one.
The yellow peril...
Well, that's what I was brought up with, man.
Yeah. Here we go. We're only 20 minutes in.
Okay. So, all right. So you said the 17th. It was actually technically the 19th. He had come back from Canberra on a holiday, and it was in please help me pronounce this. Cheviot Beach.
Wow.
In Victoria.
Cheviot Beach. Yeah.
And I looked at this beach. I mean, this is not a beach anyone who's sane would swim at.
It's pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
Have you been? Has anyone here been there?
Yes. Yeah. This is my Harold Holt. It's not a Harold Holt story, but a girlfriend at the time, and they lived down. They had a holiday house down that area in Portsea, because Portsea is where Melbournians go for holiday. So they all go down there, and there's the Portsea Polo, which was sponsored by Veuve Clicquot one time. That's why I was spending a lot of time down there. But anyway, they took me to allegedly the spot where Harold Holt went for a swim and disappeared. Wow. And you're right. It is not the place you go, I think I'm going to go have a dip.
But he was going snorkeling or something, wasn't he?
No.
We'll get to it.
All right.
I think he was either just going for a dip, but I mean, the currents, and it is
very dangerous.
Cliff-face with huge boulders, rocks. He either jumped in, and we're not talking about tropical waters here.
No.
Either, I'll tell you my own.
But this is.
But anyway.
No. Did you have a dangerous situation there? Because did you have a dangerous situation? Because from what I've researched, it's very dangerous.
Yeah. No, I mean, I didn't have a dangerous situation because I'm a pretty, decent swimmer. But you could see, okay, he either A, slipped on a rock, B, had a heart attack, and it just drifted out to sea and was eaten up by a shark. And in those days, there's plenty around.
Yeah, that's part of the thing. So again, like you said, this beach is. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I don't want to steal your thunder because there's some conspiracy theories.
None of them are legit, and I love a good conspiracy theory. But so
you are the king of conspiracy.
No, I'm the king of real things that people say are conspiracy theories that are actually real. Okay, so yeah, it's a very rocky, rough area. There's a little bit of place to sunbathe, but nobody who is looking for a relaxing day on the beach would go to this beach. To this day, you're not even allowed beach access. Swimming is not even allowed. It was named after
because of that.
Because of that, yes, but also because it's incredibly dangerous. The beach itself is named after a ship that crashed and sunk in 1887 when 35 people died. And Holt himself, who used to go swimming there all the time, found an actual piece of that ship in 1960. Oh, yeah. This guy was. He loved nature. He loved fishing. He loved snorkeling. He would spear fish. He would catch a fish. He would unzip his wetsuit, stuff the fish in his wetsuit, zip it up, and keep spearing. The dude was a pretty good swimmer, but he did have some health problems. But it was not like he was a novice. He loved nature. He sounded like a great guy. He seemed to be a decent swimmer. He would always brag to people about how long he could hold his breath and stuff. He had almost.
What is that?
Well, I'm just showing a picture of just helping to sort of.
Yeah, I've seen that picture. Like that is not like a pristine beach that is relaxing.
You're not going to find a banana lounge there,
right?
Is that on the day of Hulk's?
No, it's not on the day. The day he was only with 4 people. So people had warned him, like, dude, stop swimming here. Because he had actually almost drowned in May 1967. He had to be rescued. He, like, literally turned purple, and he almost died.
I wasn't aware of that.
His family has a history of premature death. His dad died in, like, his 50s. Like, I'm not saying it has anything to do with it, but it's very interesting. So, the day of, he had a bunch of plans, and he suggested to a friend, they were on their way back for lunch, and he suggested to a friend, like, they stop for a swim to, like, work up an appetite. Like, that's, like, stupid. Like, just eat. And
I have a theory. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I have a theory on this because the date was December 17, and as most Australians
19th, I think.
You're cutting work by then, and especially if you're in politics, you're out.
Yeah.
December 1. For sure.
And you're on holiday. So, did he have an Australians, male Australians back then? Had he had 15 tinnies before he said, you know what, I wouldn't mind a little refresher swim? And who's going to say, hang on, mate, no, maybe let's just go home and, jump through the sprinkler? Probably not.
So he had a plan to go on a spearfishing trip later in the afternoon. He was with 4 people, and they pulled over to go to his favorite swimming beach. What's the name of it? Chevrillon, whatever. And two of the people looked out and were like, no way. And you can see the eddies and the swells and the rips just from looking. I mean, I've never been there, but from everything I read, like, it's obvious. And one of his friends, a man named Alan Stewart, like, I was like, oh god, it's a freaking prime minister. Like, gotta do what he says. But he kept really close to the shore, and he didn't go out. Holt just bolted out. And again, he had been doing this for a long time. The guy was an avid swimmer. He loved this beach. But it's just one of those things where, like, you're always like, it'd be so cool to, like, go to a private beach by myself and, like, swim, and, like, that's the memory. But, like, it's never as romantic or as cool as you think it's gonna be. You're just like, okay, this is annoying, and, like, now, like, the ocean is very dangerous. Like, if you've ever been caught out there and when you're kind of tired and all of a sudden you're like, holy shit, like, there's a rip current here. Get your shit together, get your mind together, because you can go out fast. Like, the sea is no joke.
But he obviously felt confident.
He felt confident
in the water.
And you could, that day, Stewart said you could see the currents and the swells, and he went out and he was gone quick. He was taken out, just pulled right out. He didn't even hand signal. He didn't raise his hands. He didn't yell out. And going to what Belvy said, some people some people said suicide, which seems to be no credible story about that. But people can say he did have a bum shoulder and also had a history of heart problems. And heart attack was possibly a thing, especially if you panic and you're trying to exert yourself to get back. That's a real thing. He was in his, 50s, 60s.
How old?
He was born in 1908, and this was 1966. So, famous Noah John math. Ready?
58.
Oh, yeah? You didn't even do that with a calculator. 60. I don't know.
1908.
1966 minus 1908.
Yeah,
okay.
That's true. That's
114.
58.
Okay. So
which is younger than me.
Yeah, you kind of look like him. A little bit. You do. No, you kind of look like him. Look, you kind of look like him, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
No, really.
There's
maybe it's me.
By the way,
maybe.
Are you dead? By the way, Belvy, the picture
that you Harold?
The picture that you showed us
forever
was the search party. This picture that you showed us was the search party.
Right.
The search party was organized, but obviously to no avail. And like we talked about, there's some conspiracy theories. Chinese submarine, I love that one. Not credible.
No,
there is, but I mean, it was a big loss. I mean, obviously, if the leader of your country dies, I mean, America's gone through it 4 times. Countless other countries have.
Yeah.
Not countless,
but it's obviously not an assassination.
It's not an assassination. It's just a natural death. There's been a lot of memorials. There's a plaque at the beach, a very small plaque at the beach, which again they don't allow swimming, and there's a pool named after him at the Australian military base in Vietnam. There's a U.S. Navy ship named after him, which ironically in the early
U.S. Navy ship.
It's one of the only ships in the United States history that's named after a foreign leader. And in the early 21st century, I think 2002, 2003, there was war games, where they coordinate these war games, and they intentionally sunk that ship as a war exercise. So the Harold Holt ship intentionally drowned, which is a little bit weird.
Irony of it.
Yeah. So, 2002. There's a swimming center in Melbourne, and the funeral service was in 1967. It was right around Christmas, and LBJ, the President of America, flew all the way to Australia. And he was visibly shaken up. Prince Charles, the Duke of Edinburgh, was there, and yeah, I mean, he was.
I do remember it. I was a young lad at the time, and I do remember it was quite a shock of the nation.
It's shocking.
It was flags at half-mast, and everybody was in shock for a number of days.
And ST, as you know, there's that Australian saying, when someone takes off, they say they did the Harold Holt, which means he bolted. So,
yeah,
I'm going to do the Harold Holt bolt.
He got out of town.
My neighbor, who's a wonderful Australian lady they're a great older couple. We were in the pool. We have this big communal pool, and it started to rain really fast, flash out of nowhere, and she yelled to her husband across the way, "Harold Holt!" That's what and I was like, I know what that means, I knew the guy. I didn't know what it meant. She's like, it means get the hell out of here.
That means
get out quick.
So just to wrap it up,
how long was he prime minister?
2 years. Less than 2 years.
Oh, so that means it was 68.
66 to 60, less than 2 years, yeah.
Oh, so
December 67. December 67.
Oh. December 67. So it's 59. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, he was a young dude. He had so here's what I want to say. The story itself is really interesting, but there's not much, conspiracy about it. But his political career is overshadowed by this. But he actually was a pretty good, skilled politician. I mean, the positives for him was he was incredibly media savvy. People thought he had a great personality. He really knew how to communicate quickly. Seemed like a very nice guy. Great with just relationships and kind of the media. He eased parts of the white Australia policy. Do you want to talk about that?
Go ahead.
It's basically a policy that stopped non-Euro, basically non-white immigration to Australia a long time ago, and now it's technically still a law, but they don't really enforce it. Although in the last couple of years they have, but he basically relaxed that and allowed a lot of Indians and Chinese and Southeast Asian people to continue. It was basically a racist policy to keep Australian white, and he said this is not cool.
They did a lot of good things in the mid to late 60s in Australia, and all Australians should be thankful for the government they had back in those years.
Thankful for the white nationalists, or thankful for
the way they
Harold
cleaned
Holt?
it up? Because beforehand, maybe Harold Holt was part of it, but they did do some great things.
Wait, are you referring to the white Australia policy?
Well, they got rid of it.
They did. Yeah. Are you referring to that, or are you referring to the fact that they brought it in the first place?
Oh, yeah, but Aboriginals, man. Aboriginals got the short end of the stick.
And he worked on that. He definitely helped make it less effective, like I said. And he also backed a plan to count Aboriginals in the census. They weren't even counted as people.
No.
And
I remember my mother saying when she was growing up that it was always segregation. There was, Aboriginals. She was living in a town where there were quite a lot of Aboriginals, and you would never be allowed near them. But anyway,
and
things changed for the better.
He helped change that, and he built relations with other Asian neighbors. Besides the fact that he supported the Vietnam War, so Harold Holt probably would have gone down as one of the more successful statesmen of Australian history. And like Belvy said, and you said, he's really remembered obviously just for this. But the story is really, I think it's interesting because he was like, this was how he was going to die. He had been swimming and fishing and blah 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 and going to this beach.
It was also 1966 that they changed from the English pound system to decimal dollars. Education was suddenly opened up to everybody. I think he might have been, right at that time. He was.
And which party did that?
The Liberals.
Exactly.
But nobody's.
If we had right wing parties running the entire world, we wouldn't even have safety checks on our drinking water. The only reason we have any of these things that keep us safe or any sort of consumer protection is from left-wing organizations.
Mine's very black. Anyway.
What are you drinking? Hey, can someone send me the link, please?
Of what?
Stout.
This podcast.
What were you talking?
Oh,
right.
I don't have your number. Oh. It's a good thing. I would text you all hours of the day. So that's my Harold Holt.
I prefer
Excellent story.
That was a great story. I love it. You know,
it's a great story for our entertainment.
It connects us so well.
Yeah, I wanted to get a little bit more international, man.
Americans and Australians connect very well at the end of the day.
Yeah, we're both racist countries.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Born on slaves. Anyway.
Totally.
Rest in peace. I don't like when people say rest in power now. I don't like that. I say rest in peace still. Rest in peace, Harold Holt.
Rest in power.
Yeah, it's like a thing. It's a very annoying left thing. I will say about that.
Yes, indeed. So let's get some music. I got my friend. Yeah. I've got my friend ready to go again. We're going to come up to his latest album. All right. I'm sure you're all very excited.
I'm on pins and needles.
Yeah, you're very excited. I know that. Hold on. Let's go to Gretel, which is a track off House of Sugar. It's released September, I think, 2019. Here it is. Okay, you're on the No Rest show. We're going worldwide tonight.
Literally.
On the
if
No
you're
Rest
in Antarctica, you can hear us.
Yeah, exactly. If you've got an internet connection, you're there. And it's very clear. We'd like to hear from you guys. Huh?
I want to see him.
He's not there.
Okay. So I have here from RollingStone.com the top 50 rock and roll music biographies or memoirs of all time. We won't go with all 50, but when we get to the end, I do want to talk about a couple of them that weren't in the top 25 because I've read a lot of these, and there's just so many fantastic books in this. So this is not best-selling. This is Rob Sheffield. He's a journalist from Rolling Stone who I respect. If you Google his name, you've probably seen him before. He's always like in the media or on like MTV, just talking about like history and stuff. He's really interesting, smart guy. So I like his. I respect his opinion. So these are memoirs or biographies. So I guess we'll start with 25 and go down, and then I want to go back because there's some really great books that did not make the top 25. So 25, Kim.
You are the librarian.
I am.
Yeah.
I am. And
very informative. I love it.
There's two books on this list that everybody should read. They are just magnificent. We'll get to those. The 25, Kim Gordon, Girl in a Band. I don't know this person, but she was in Sonic Youth, which is like a band that was like before my time.
They were like the Wall of Noise, weren't they?
I have no idea, but one
of these first bands that just played sort of. Anyway,
it was
kind of
Can you
cool.
do that again?
It was kind of cool.
Can you do that again, please?
Yeah, sorry, I just didn't get it.
That sounds like a gigantic mosquito.
Yeah, I know. Where's my racket?
That's probably what most of their old
those electronic rackets, best invention ever.
I know, totally, right? Someone's making a billion.
Listen, I don't know what the
illegal in Australia.
Oh yeah, why?
You can't take them down.
Why?
No, you can't. If you take one down to Australia, they'll take it off you.
Why?
Because it's naughty. You know,
a
small child might get it stuck on its end of its nose or something.
I don't know what the impact of the world ecosystem would be if we got rid of all mosquitoes, but don't care. I am in support.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Effing hate mosquitoes.
What the hell does
Mosquito lives don't matter.
No, mosquito lives do not matter. I don't even care if they're from Africa. I hate mosquitoes.
They must do something positive for it. They're there.
Tonight's podcast is not brought to you by One Vape.
Dude,
let's get him.
First of all,
what is that?
That's the best thing ever. That's one push.
Okay, so what it says is there's 60 squirts, which is a lot more than I have. But anyway, you can squirt this anywhere, and everything will die.
Yeah,
my dog.
No, I have like 10 bottles in my bedroom.
That's very.
I swear to God, I do.
I've seen Stu use this as cologne.
Keeps all those hot chicks away. Anyway,
yeah.
When you say 60 squirts per, it reminds me of Magic Johnson, the basketball player.
That was 80s quirks. But
he had a television show like in the early 90s, mid 90s, after he retired, and it was called The Magic Hour, and it was like literally the worst show ever. But he had a billboard in LA that said The Magic Hour, 60 smiles an hour. 60 miles. And I just wanted to punch him in the face.
As you would.
I like Magic Johnson, but that was the worst show ever. Google Howard Stern on the Magic Hour.
Wait a minute. I watched Howard Stern yesterday.
Yes. Which episode? This whole entire podcast is just a copy of Howard Stern.
Just because, I thought, with his name like Howard Stern, I had a vision of Suits, very straight sort of dude.
God, no.
I was surprised, man.
What'd you watch? I
don't know. Whatever they had on the...
He's incredible.
The first few videos on the top of the list.
You've got about 10,000 hours to go.
I didn't know anyone that he was interviewing, but apparently they're famous. But,
he's a brilliant
guys, can I do a quick shout-out?
Man.
Yeah.
The Bronx in Philadelphia. He's listening right now.
Cool.
Go ahead.
This is how long we reach.
I want to say
the Bronx. Is that a name?
Is he an Eagles fan? Find out, please.
I don't think he is. I'd have to ask him. He's probably listening now, and he may actually reply, but he is listening. But anyway,
ask me if he's ever been to the Theater of Living Art or the Electric Factory, two of America's best live music venues. All right, number 24.
Okay, we'll get back to him.
Yeah, go. Cool. Jay-Z Decoded. Jay-Z's cool, but I never read that book. Number 23, Tommy James from Tommy James and the Shondells. I knew a guy who was the keyboard player for that band, Kenny Laguna. He was co-owner of Blackheart Records. I worked for him for a little while.
Good fellows.
Manager of Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. Treated me with incredible respect and awesome. Yeah. Number 22, David Lee Roth, Crazy from the Heat, and it says here.
Oh.
Did you? Anyone who's read these books, you got to speak up because.
No, but I'm writing it down.
Yeah, the review of this book sounds amazing. It sounds amazing, and so I really want to read that book.
That's from 1998 as well.
1998, which is interesting because that was like when Van Halen was like at their least popular. I mean, they got back together like about 10 years ago and went on a giant tour. But yeah, I'm sure that's a fascinating book. This 21, Kristen Hirsch, Rat Girl. I don't know who that is. We'll move on. 20, Morrissey.
Oh.
Just called Autobiography, 2013.
That'd be interesting.
I like the Smiths. I like Morrissey. He has one song called like Girl's Mother or something. Unbelievable song. I love
it. I saw him in Jakarta actually a few years ago.
A few years ago?
Like 4 years ago, maybe. I don't know, 5 years ago. I don't know.
How was it?
It was the first time he had played in Jakarta, and he said after the show that it was one of the most emotional shows he had ever done. I don't know, recently done. The way the audience was reacting to him.
Indonesia has great rock fans.
Oh yeah,
Indonesians. I don't know what it is, but they just are awesome when it comes to just fandom of metal and rock. They're just awesome. Number 19, Richard Hell. I dreamed I was a very clean tramp. I don't even know this guy. It's about CBGB in New York City punk club.
Who is it?
Richard Hell. I don't know.
Nice name.
Number 18, Chuck Berry, The Autobiography. Johnny Be Good. I love that song. I'll always listen to that song. Chuck Berry's pretty cool, dude. 17, David Bowie. Moonage Daydream, The Life and Times of Ziggy Stardust, 2002.
Good song. Moonage Daydream was a good song. One of my favorites when I was a youngster.
Yeah? Talks about partying with Elton John. He says, we didn't exactly become pals. We didn't have much in common. And he talks about partying with Mick Jagger, and he says, I have absolutely no recollection of any of these parties.
Is this an autobiography or someone else?
It's a coffee table art book. Bowie was definitely part of it. I think it was part of it. 16, Rod Stewart. Which I'm not a huge Rod Stewart fan. He had this funny reality show a couple years ago with his kid. His kid was like this rich.
But he has some great stories.
Totally great stories. He probably has the best breakup song I ever heard called It's Over. If you want to get depressed, if you want to get depressed about a relationship going south, that's the song to listen to. It is about his divorce with, I believe, Rachel Hunter. And
yes.
It is, that's a tough one. Number 15, Anthony Kiedis, Scar Tissue. I read this book. You read it?
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about this one for a little while. First of all, I think I would say the number one song of all time, appealing to all people and actually being a good song as well, would be Under the Bridge.
Of course.
And remember in that book, he would be so cracked out that he would like rent like 5 hotels in LA like per day. Like he'd get a bunch of drugs, he'd like get a hotel room, then he'd like go outside, then he'd like forget where he was supposed to be going, he'd get another room, and then like dinner time he'd like get another room. By the time he's like passed out, he has like his name on like 5 different hotel rooms. But that song was about him like smoking crack like under a bridge. Do you remember the part if you ever heard the song Aeroplane? When he says sitting in my kitchen, he's talking about he was like sober for like a long time, and then he like relapsed, and he was so high that he went into his neighbor's house. He might have been naked. No, that was Slash. He realized like, what am I doing in their house? And he was like, I'm looking for my mail, and they're like, Anthony, your mail's not here. So like these like
which mail?
His like MAIL. But like that book was so crazy. First of all, he comes to Borneo and he gets dengue. He almost dies. But that book was so crazy because like every page was like, oh, and then I went on a 3-month crack binge, and you're like, and that's like every page.
Everybody needs that.
It's just so crazy.
Is he still living like that?
Oh yeah, no. Allegedly, he's sober. And another book on this list has a story about him, which remind me to get to. Number 14, Ronnie Spector. The Ronettes, Be My Baby. I don't know about that. John Taylor from Duran Duran. Yeah, in the Pleasure Groove. Number 13. You have any comments on that?
I was a big Duran Duran fan, and John Taylor was a Rod Stewart. I mean, he had some great stories. Yeah.
John Taylor was the singer? No. But the singer was someone else.
The singer was Nick Rhodes, right?
Bass player.
Yeah. Right. That song, Save a Prayer. Amazing.
And that Sex Pistols, are they featuring there?
They're on here somewhere, but they're not. I don't think they're at the top. I mean, they might be. Hold on. Paul McCartney, many years from now, 1997, he came out with an album around this time. I believe it was called Sometimes. No, sorry. It was called something Toaster, but there's a song on there called Sometimes. Maybe the most beautiful song I've ever heard. I don't know how he gets the tone on his guitar solo. That's a song worth playing. Right. Paul McCartney, Sometimes. Wow, incredible.
Wait a minute, I've got... can I... Oh, okay, we'll play that
go
now.
ahead.
I just wanted to play a Morrissey one.
You can play Morrissey. Play it now.
I wanted to do a Smith song. Let's do a Smith song.
Yeah, whatever.
Right, Every Day's Like
their
Sunday.
first, actually, the first of their first album, their first song. So this is like, imagine if you never heard the Smiths before in 1984, I think. Yeah. And this is the song you're going to hear.
Are we playing it, or am I talking over this? Are we taking a break?
Well, we can play it a little bit, and then you can talk halfway through. Let's go.
Okay.
All right, ready? All right. We're 1984.
I was 1.
Yeah. I was already old. Reel Around the Fountain. Actually, I was just in my prime in 1984.
You're in your prime now.
Well, my youthful prime, you should say.
This song that I was talking about was called Some Girls Are Bigger or Better Than Others.
Oh, yeah.
That was the Smiths. And I remember listening to that song. I was in Hurghada, Egypt, flying to Sarajevo, Bosnia at 4:00 in the morning. And I remember listening to that song on the way to the airport and like just dreading the check-in process in the Middle East. And I at least had the Smiths to keep me sane. Because in Egypt, you can't get in the airport unless you show them the ticket. I'm like, genius. The reason I'm at the airport is to get the ticket. I'm going to get it right there. And like, you can't, they will not let you in without the ticket. Like that's going to stop terrorism. So I had Morrissey to keep me calm. All right, number 11, Nile Rodgers, La Freak, 2011. I know nothing about this guy. Anyone know this guy? I don't know anything about him.
Oh, Nile Rodgers.
He's like an Afro beat thing.
Yeah, but very, very fan. But he wrote many songs for other people.
Yeah,
okay.
That was a popular song.
I mean, it's got to be a great book. I mean, it's at number 11.
Yeah. Why is it? What's the criteria again on there?
Again, it's Rob Sheffield. He's a journalist, and I'm sure the stories are good and they're honest and authentic. But it's his opinion, which he's a guy I respect. Number 10, Carrie Brownstein, who is in the guitar player for the band Sleater Kinney, which is a pretty cool band. She's also on the television show Portlandia, and they have an awesome song called Dig Me Out. A long time ago, 1997. But this was kind of like the 90s, like Riot Girl, like female kind of punk scene going on. And I love this band. I never read the book, but I bet it's pretty good. Number 9, the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan, The Tao of Wu, and he's written 2 excellent memoirs. And the Wu-Tang Clan is like one of the better rap groups, so that's number 9. Number 8, a book that I read, Slash from Guns N' Roses, of the same name, Slash 2007. This book is crazy. This is another one of those books where it's just like every single page is like, I was high for a year. And I don't remember anything. One time he literally busted out of rehab and ran naked on a golf course in Phoenix, Arizona. He actually technically died, and the doctors restarted his heart. And this is also in the Nikki Sixx book, which is number 48 on this. And he said, I have no remorse whatsoever about my overdose, but I was pissed off at myself for having died. Number 7.
I'll never let that happen again.
Wow, such a loser. Number 7, Michael Diamond and Adam Horowitz from the Beastie Boys. Beastie Boys book.
Yep. I started watching their biography lesson.
Yeah, so Adam Yount died. He's dead. But, yeah, any comments on the Beastie Boys?
One of my favorite bands from mid '80s. I started watching their I guess what's the television show all about their not television show but their sort of biography
behind the music. That was
yes last night.
Oh yeah, they were. I remember as a kid them like always preaching about Tibet, free Tibet. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but like they exposed millions of young people to like actual like geopolitical causes, which is kind of cool. This is number 6 again. I don't know who this person is. The Slits, Viv Albertine, clothes, music, boys. I mean,
what are they famous for?
I don't know, but number 6. I mean. We're moving on. Keith Richards' Life. We talked about this a couple episodes ago. Number 5. Like I gave up. Yeah. It's 1,000 pages long.
Same.
I didn't. I kept on going. I kept on grinding through it. And I like this.
It was like Shantaram. I started reading it.
Oh, come on, dude. That's literally one of the best books I've ever read. I actually think that's I'd actually say that's my favorite book of all time.
What I liked about the Keith Richards story.
You didn't like Shantaram?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was the time of my life. I just I had to just tap out.
What was Shantaram about? What was Shantaram about?
It is an epic tale about an Australian escaped convict who goes to Mumbai, India. It's half fiction, half not true, and you don't know which is which. And he basically joins a gang, but he's actually like a really nice guy, and he like helps in the slums and stuff. And he just gets into all this crazy adventures, and he's friends with everybody, and he's like kind of like the hero that you root for. He's like a gangster, but he's standing up for good. He's like kind of Robin Hood type. And then like just when you think the book's gonna end, he like goes to Afghanistan with like this father figure, Khadr Bai, and they go to like fight the Russians in the 80s. It is just the most epic book ever. It's like part biography, part adventure novel, part tour guide, part history, and it is. I mean, I remember reading that book and just reading a paragraph, and it was like a book in a paragraph. And I would read the paragraph over and over because it was so dense, but also so beautiful. And I read the sequel, The Mountain Echoes, which wasn't as good, but as a standalone book, is still good. You gotta read Shantaram. For me, my favorite fiction book of all time. It is an epic novel, man.
You better read that again.
There was a movie that was being produced.
Oh yeah, I'm on it.
I think Johnny Depp, and
he's out of it now.
Take this one, yeah, he's out of it now. But I mean, it did. I think they were either halfway through it or something, and things went to shit.
So I believe the guy who played Elton John in Rocket Man is playing Lynn. So
I didn't enjoy that movie at all.
Rocket Man?
No.
Way too much singing.
It was way too gay. Oh, sorry. Not allowed to say that.
No, you are allowed to say that. Way too much singing.
Didn't Putin say that? He banned it because it's way too gay.
How many times... Well, homosexual marriage is illegal in Russia. How many times did they sing Tiny Dancer in that movie? 3 times. Like, you want to sing it once? Yeah. Fine, okay?
Yeah, it's a bit too much.
Dude. But the guy did his own singing.
Musical,
but the costumes were awesome.
Yeah,
I did think that the way that they portrayed his sadness about his father just not giving a shit about him was well done. I mean, he didn't give a shit that his son had sold like 10 million records and he had this other family and he was like totally ignoring him.
Sure.
And I did like the costumes and I liked how the movie was based around his tellings in rehab. I read an article about him once, Elton John, when he was like in his big drug days. He said he was so high once, he was in a hotel room and he called down to the front desk and told them to turn the wind down. That's pretty high.
That's always.
I can imagine.
Number 4.
Go back to here. Go back to Keith Richards.
Yeah, go ahead.
I really like the part where at the beginning of the book how the band gets together and they're literally together. 3 months. They're just sort of jamming. Jamming in someone's room, and they've got 2 songs together. They've learned a few covers, and then they had a hit. Like it's like boom, I can't remember what the song was, but they had a hit suddenly on the radio. And then they've got this tour of North England somewhere, and all they've got is like 3 songs, and they try to get it together. They did
a bunch of covers,
together,
right? Like blues covers,
bunch of covers, and get out on the road, and they just never stop. And they're just number 1 from... Well, man, unbelievable. When it comes down to rock and roll, I guess it all comes down to timing.
For sure.
If you're number 1, man, you're number 1, you stay number 1 forever, as long as you can hold on. That's the truth of life, I reckon.
I mean, the thing about the Rolling Stones, I'm not saying anything that people don't know, but the thing that I liked about them was that they were such big fans, and they were always very honest about their love for, like, black blues, like in the 50s. Like
sure.
They never pretended they were like original.
Rhythm
they always gave credit to like all those guys, Howlin' Wolf and stuff, and they always would bring them up on stage. Like they were really just like, we are just lucky to be able to be born, like you said, where we are, when we are, looking how we are. But we do owe our entire career to R&B, rhythm and blues from the black community in the 40s and 50s.
That's right.
Incredible humility.
Another part of the book I liked was when it moves forward to the 70s, when rock and roll is suddenly this dirty thing, heroin's everywhere, and they're running around basically in the back of a station wagon, from what it sounds like, and just getting pulled over, thrown into jail, caught with all this smack.
Toronto, Canada.
It's pretty hardcore, back in those days, you think, bands going around, it's all easy, it's all organised, but man, they're on the road, literally, and lucky to survive.
Definitely. I mean, they're all alive, other than Brian Jones. He drowned in a swimming pool or something?
That's right. Well, murdered?
Was he murdered?
Somebody?
We should probably get that straight.
Drowned.
Okay, thank you. I'm not crazy. I am crazy.
They all fell out. They all fell out. They're trying to get him out of the band because
So what are you saying?
Well,
there's a conspiracy theory.
Yeah. Do you think it's a coincidence that he drowned and Ghislaine Maxwell's from England? I don't think so.
Here we go.
I don't think so.
Apparently, there's been a turn of events with that case just recently. I heard.
I don't know.
Apparently they've got hold of all the documents. Something it's all become open. They've opened the case from 2015 with all the names of everybody.
Oh yeah, can't wait. Number 4.
I'll read that book.
Oh God, I'll write that book. Number 4, Questlove from The Roots, great band. They're the Jimmy Fallon's house band, and from Philly. So your boy. And it says here, Bronca. One of the most emotionally honest books ever written in going through life, not just in love with music, but practically crippled by how much you love it. Whatever. Again, great band, but.
Who the fuck are they?
No, The Roots. No, they're good. Okay. Their one album, I forgot what it was called, but there's a song on there called Shining Star or Star. Incredible. That album with the orange cover with the guy, it's incredible. Number 3, Bruce Springsteen, Born to Run. I like Bruce. Never read this book. Number 2, Patti Smith, Just Kids.
Wow. Is that for the cool factor?
I don't know. Listen, this guy I respect, but I'm not loving this top 10. I got to tell you. And number 1,
Patti Smith has always been a bit of a wonder, right? She keeps on coming up in conversation about all these bands and how much influence she had. I can't recall any song.
She had one song that Marilyn Manson covered. I can't say the name. It's not appropriate.
Go ahead.
Rock and roll something. I can't say the word. It's like the one word white people can't say. Not that I want to say it. But all I know is that song from her. I don't know. Like, again, I'm 37 years old. Like, I don't know anything. And number 1, Chronicles Volume 1.
37 years old.
Well, I just don't know these things. But Bob Dylan Chronicles Volume 1. And he says here, number 1, everyone knew this guy had a way with words, but it's safe to say that nobody expected his autobiography to be this intense. He rambles from one fragment of life to another with crazed characters and weird scenes in every chapter. It all hangs together, from his Minnesota boyhood to deserted orchards and dead grass in the 80s bottoming out phase. He invoked his early folk rogue days in New York, even though he hated being perceived as a voice of a generation. I was more a cowpuncher than a Pied Piper.
Wow. Was he an asshole or no?
No, I mean, I don't know. I never met him. But I'll say, I just want to go back to some of the ones that I've read on here. Number 49, Nikki Sixx, The Heroin Diaries. Oh, yeah. I read it. It's literally a diary. Like, I remember, I'm from upstate New York, and he plays Troy, New York, Rensselaer Polytech Institute Fieldhouse, the Houston Fieldhouse. And the entry is just like, don't remember the show, been on heroin for 2 years, moving on. But he literally died. He literally died, went to the hospital.
Yeah, it was another case. Right?
And then as soon as he got back from the hospital, he shut up again. Billy Idol, Dancing with Myself. I did not read this book, but I did work a show where Billy Idol was playing, and he had a minder with him that was his entire job was to make sure that he didn't do drugs or drink. And the guy was literally like right by his side. It was pretty wild.
Well paid, I'm sure.
Well paid.
You'd have to do that, wouldn't you? If you're out,
this is 2008.
Imagine, playing these shows, these concerts, worldwide codes for like 6 months straight. What the hell are you going to be doing?
Number 45, Rick James. I've wanted to read this book forever. Yeah. It's on my iPad. Hey, did you read it?
No, but I'd love to, because then,
Rick James, he's from Buffalo, New York, a fellow upstate guy, and he met, I want to say, Stephen Stills, and because their drummer was sick, and so he filled in, and he said, dude, you're really good. He's like 16 years old. He brought him to L.A., and maybe it was
Crosby, Stills, Nash.
Yeah, it might have been David Crosby, but I think it was Stephen Stills. It's one of those two. And so he's staying at his house, and he's sleeping on which is kind of weird, like 16-year-old kid, like staying at this dude's house, but okay. And
it's okay. It was before Epstein.
He sleeps on his couch, and in the middle of the night, he wakes up, and there's this random dude who's reading the Bible and cutting his wrists and bleeding all over the Bible, and he goes out, and he goes into the guy's room, either Stephen Stills or, I should probably know the story, but Stephen Stills or David Crosby's room, and he goes, hey, there's a guy out there, and he looks just like Jim Morrison, and he's cutting his wrist and bleeding on the Bible and talking in tongues. And the guy goes, and the guy goes,
really?
The guy goes, again? I like that story. He's here again. But I want to say two more things. Number 42, Dean Warham, lead singer of the band, a couple bands, Galaxy 500 and Luna. My second favorite band of all time. I stalked Dean for a couple years in the late 2010s. Late 2000s, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. I am this guy's biggest fan. My father bought me this book. I read the book before I listened to the music, and it's basically a book about being famous and having beautiful critical reviews without making any money. The band Luna is one of the best bands of all time, and this book is incredible. It's very funny. It's very introspective. I love this book. I stalk Dean. I'm a huge fan. I have this book if anybody wants to borrow it. It's number 42 on this list. It should be number 1. It is incredible. My father bought it for me as a Christmas present, and it's probably the best gift I ever got. It changed my life as far as my second favorite band of all time. And I love it so much. And then we talked about Warrant Cherry Pie last time. We were talking about Great White. We have Bobby Brown, the girl from that video, number 41, Dirty Rocket Boys. It's basically just a show about book about groupies. And I'll say the last one I'll say here, 2 more. Greg Allman, My Cross to Bear from the Allman Brothers. I read this book. Unbelievable book. He just died recently. another one of those books where like one page is like, and then for 6 months I disappeared into a crack hole, and you're like, okay, like moving on, like it's right, but it's just like one page, but like in his life, it's like from when before coronavirus started to now, he just smoking crack and doing heroin every day. Like I don't understand it. But Boy George, number 33, Take It Like a Man. I love Boy George. I just think he's so funny and smart ass and interesting. But number 32,
oh shit.
Marilyn Manson, The Long Hard Road Out of Hell, 1998. I met Marilyn Manson on this book tour. He signed my book for me. My aunt, Paige, drove me she lived in Boston, to Newbury, Massachusetts, Newbury Comics on a shitty, cloudy, rainy day. And when we got there, they wouldn't let him sign my book. I had to buy a new one, and she had to give me $30 to buy the book, and she was like kind of annoyed, but she did it for me. And I went in line, and I was thinking about everything I'm going to say to him, and I walked up, and I was like, I said like something really cool, like something like very underground, like he would understand. I'm like a big fan. And this book is incredible. You have to read it. It's very funny. It's very weird. You get a complete understanding of what Marilyn Manson is, where he's from. The Long Hard Road Out of Hell. Unbelievable pictures, and just an incredible, incredible book. Marilyn Manson makes it cool to be a nerd. And when he was like 8 years old, he found an aborted fetus on the side of the road in a coffee can. He asked his mother what it was, and his mother told him it was a skinned cat. And she just later told him that it was real. But he has a thing in there, like a list of 40 rules if you're gay, 40 rules if you're cheating on your girlfriend, and 40 rules if you're a drug addict. And they're very funny. One of my favorite books of all time. And I lost that book that he signed for me.
Oh, shit.
One of my biggest regrets.
Oh, my God.
Marilyn Manson, The Long Hard Road Out of Hell, which is also a Marilyn Manson song, but not one of his best. So there it is. That I've read, 15 books on that list, and I can't wait to read the Rick James one. But yeah, man, reading
is something very precious. I used to do a lot more of it.
I do it every day.
You are the librarian.
I'm reading a great book right now called Angle of Repose by William Stegner, 1971, across the United States West. Incredible book. And I read a book before that called Sweetness in the... just the hard scrabble settlers of the West, kind of the Oregon Trail, but it goes back and forth between two different centuries, not decades. And then the book I read before that was called Sweetness in the Belly, which was I'm just reading epic fiction, but I'm telling you right now, Shantaram. You have to read it, man. It's a top book, man. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
This is a Crosby Nash song.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash, yeah.
Well, it's just Crosby and Nash.
Oh yeah, they cut Stills out.
This is before they got the rest of
it. On the radio.
And so that is going to be bringing us to the end of the show for another amazing No Rest show Tuesday night.
Can we play a Luna song on the way out?
Yes, we could always try a Luna song.
Literally, like, I don't care what kind of music you like, you will like this band. They are unbelievable band.
Lunatic Podcast?
No. The guy's name is Dean Warham. He had another band with his wife. If you saw the movie Marriage Story, he played the director in that movie for like 20 seconds. But his best song is either Love Dust or Tiger Lily or Still at Home. Those are my favorites.
And how did you get onto him?
My father bought me this book, and I read the book, and it was just unbelievably. I was obsessed with it. It was perfect from every angle, and it was just incredible. His name's Dean Warham, W, and he's from New Zealand originally, but he grew up in Australia, and he's got kind of this weird accent, but he's just like one of the most interesting people ever. So next week we're gonna save one of our stories. The Prime Minister of a small country in Africa, Lesotho, has an unbelievable current events going on, which is just like the stuff of legends. And then we'll talk about maybe that Pan Am crash and a couple other things. We got to get to this Canadian serial killer, the worst shooting in Canadian history.
We've been talking about April. For that for some time.
Yeah, they just announced something last week, so I'm really trying to get all my information together. I don't want to mess it up.
Knives from Bavaria?
Knives from Bavaria by Dean and Britta.
Is that a good one?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's go out on that. Thanks for joining the show, wherever you may be. Could be anywhere.
Absolutely.
Could be all over the world.
Could be in...
We've got fans. We've got a fan. I think we've got
Dave.
a fan.
Dave's a fan.
We've got one fan in the USA. We've got another fan in Kuta. We could have a fan in...
We got a fan in Philadelphia. He's probably committed a murder by now. It's fine. I mean, that's pretty normal for Philadelphia people. Grow up, commit a murder. Oh, yeah. Listen to this one.
We continue now.
Listen to this
sound. Oh. Okay, see you next week.
See you.